In the world of football, some are born stars. Others claw their way up, inch by inch, fight by fight. But what happens when a star falls? Can someone once rejected, forgotten, or cast aside rise again? Now, let's dive into the incredible journeys of 10 footballers who turned their second chances into legendary comebacks. Roy Hodgson once told me I'd never make it as a left back, that I wasn't good enough. I told him he didn't understand football. When you realize these words came from Roberto Carlos, one of the greatest fullbacks in football history, you know time has proven someone wrong. In 1995, Carlos joined Inter Milan from Palmeiras at just 22. European football long viewed that position with an outdated mindset. Despite being impressed with Carlos's attacking talent, then Inter coach Roy Hodgson believed he was defensively inadequate. I kept scoring in my early games, so Hodgson started playing me as a midfielder, Carlos later said. But with the 1997 Copa America approaching, he knew this would hurt his chances with the national team. Many Brazilian players, when faced with a rocky start in Europe, choose to return home. But Carlos wasn't just any player. After just one season at Inter, he found both a club and a coach that truly valued him. Fabio Capello was the most important coach in my life, said Carlos. I transferred to Madrid because of him. When they told me they wanted me, I met with President Lorenzo Sanz. I made the decision in just 10 minutes. Unlike Hodgson, Capello understood football and footballers. Carlos would go on to revolutionize the fullback role, proving how vital it could be in attack. From being told he'd never make it, he became the best left back in history. He conquered Europe with Real Madrid, won countless titles, and in 2002 became a world champion with Brazil. We all want support from those around us, but sometimes all it takes to succeed is someone telling you you're not good enough. Just like Roberto Carlos. He was only 15 when Real Madrid discovered his talent. A gifted youngster, yes, but his early years in Spain didn't exactly hint at a future African football legend. Under Capello, he played just 7 official games for Madrid and scored no goals. He was loaned out to 3 different La Liga clubs. At 19, Real Madrid finally sold him to Mallorca for $4.5 million. I never wanted to leave Madrid. I gave it everything I had, he said. Capello was the only one who believed in me. I was hungry for goals, for money, for fame. But the competition at Madrid was brutal. Raul, Morientes, Mijatovic, Anelka, the striker was buried under stars. Plus, Spain's foreign player rule meant he wasn't even eligible for some matches. So, leaving Madrid became inevitable. In 4 seasons at Mallorca, he evolved rapidly. He became one of La Liga's deadliest strikers, fast, fierce, and increasingly precise. And whenever he played against Madrid, he made them pay. In the summer of 2004, Barcelona, looking to replace Patrick Kluivert, signed him for $27 million. Samueletto had finally earned his second chance. They could offer me €1 billion. I still wouldn't return to Madrid. I just wouldn't be happy there. I can't promise 50 goals, but I promise I'll fight. And fight he did. Under Frank Rijkaard and later Pep Guardiola, Eto'o became a legend at Barcelona,
winning 2 Champions Leagues with Barca and another with Inter.
He was named African Footballer of the Year 4 times. And though he often spoke bitterly about Madrid in his early years, time mellowed him. Without Madrid, I wouldn't have reached this level, he admitted later. Madrid will always be in my heart. Sometimes when I visit, fans still say, "We wish you'd played for us again." But I guess I'm a little too old for that now.
They say that if Sir Alex Ferguson signs a player and it doesn't work out, the problem probably wasn't Sir Alex. But Diego Forlan might be the exception. In the summer of 2001, Manchester United brought in Ruud van Nistelrooy and parted ways with Dwight York and Andy Cole. They needed striking depth. and 23-year-old Forlan, playing for Independiente, seemed the perfect fit. He joined in January and failed to score a single goal in his first 18 appearances. According to Ferguson's autobiography, Forlan played better in a two-striker system, but Ruud van Nistelrooy thrived alone. Whenever Sir Alex tried pairing them, it just didn't click. It took Forlan 27 games to score his first United goal. Ferguson described him as a talented tennis player who'd chosen football. He was small but had a surprisingly strong upper body. When United decided to let him go, no club was willing to pay more than £2 million for him. Forlan signed with Villarreal. At the time, he had only 10 goals in 63 Premier League appearances. But then, he exploded. In his debut La Liga season, he scored 25 goals and won the European Golden Boot. 3 years later, Villarreal sold him to Atletico Madrid for 7 times what they paid. There, he reached the peak of his career. In 2009, he scored 32 league goals and won another Golden Boot. The following season, he helped Atletico win the UEFA Europa League and Super Cup, cementing his legacy and proving his class to the world.
They don't want you anymore. Most of us know that famous story. And we also know about Kevin's stubborn, never-give-up attitude. When he found out that the foster family he moved in with at age 14 no longer wanted him in their home, it hit him like a truck. To go through such a shock at such a young age is far from easy. But sometimes, painful truths teach the most important lessons. You realize people have more than one face. The one they show you, and the one they hide. That's what growing up is. They don't want you anymore. That was the day Kevin made a promise to himself. He would never return home as a failure. He knew this wouldn't be the last or the hardest obstacle in his life. But from that day on, it didn't matter, because Kevin was ready. His football journey began at the Genk Academy, and by the age of 20, it had already taken him to the Premier League, the toughest league in the world. The fiery red-headed young man had joined England's most aggressive club when it came to transfer policy. This meant fierce competition and little room for mistakes. Spending a season on loan in the Bundesliga seemed like the smartest move. After a brilliant season with Werder Bremen, Kevin returned to London, hoping for a real chance under Jose Mourinho. Mourinho was always honest with him.
You're my 6th choice in midfield. If Juan Mata leaves, you'll be number 5.
But Kevin didn't want to just be there. He wanted to play. Although he never had a personal conflict with Mourinho, Kevin later said,
It felt like the plan was always to loan me out again.
In the end, he wore the Chelsea shirt in just 9 official matches. In January 2014, he transferred to Wolfsburg on a permanent deal. He stayed there only 1.5 seasons, but in that short time, he played 71 matches, scored 20 goals, and delivered 31 assists. A truly outrageous stat line. He was named Bundesliga Player of the Year. That performance caught the eye of another Premier League giant, one that wasn't afraid to spend. Manchester City paid €75 million for him, far above his market value at the time.
When I arrived at City, I was still the guy Chelsea had rejected.
Kevin said.
People were saying no one would pay to watch me play.
But Kevin never intended to quit. From the moment he put on the sky blue shirt, he shattered the label of Premier League misfit. He made the entire footballing world, fans and critics alike, accept one truth. In his prime, Kevin De Bruyne was the best midfielder in the world. With 6 Premier League titles, the Belgian became the second highest assist provider in league history, just behind Ryan Giggs.
Another Premier League legend, but unlike De Bruyne, Thierry Henry never stumbled in England. The journey of Henry started in Monaco, where he got his first taste of top-flight football. Sitting on the bench back then was a tall, pale, 40-something coach named Arsene Wenger. It's hard to say where Henry's career would have gone had he never met Wenger. In January 1999, Henry joined Italian giants Juventus, and in his own words, "I lost my desire to play football." Playing on the wing, he lacked the freedom he craved. He was criticized for not defending, and even whistled at by fans during training. He lasted just half a season. But in those days,
Serie A was the most prestigious league in the world, and leaving Juventus wasn't just about changing clubs. It was admitting that he hadn't made it in Italy. But then came a call from Wenger, now managing Arsenal. Henry couldn't say no. According to Henry, the reason he failed in Italy was simple. Back then, Italian football was all tactics. In England, the team that runs more usually wins. And all I ever wanted was to run with the ball. He remembers how exhausted he felt after every run. By the time I reached the goal, I had no energy left to finish the play. And this is exactly what Wenger helped him learn during their second encounter. Even though Henry failed to score in his first 7 games, Wenger refused to give up on him. He kept playing him up front and showed unwavering faith. Eventually, Henry's natural composure in front of goal began to shine. And over time, he became one of the most iconic strikers football has ever seen. Stylish, cool, devastating. He won the Golden Boot 4 times, including in Arsenal's undefeated invincible season of 2004. He scored over 200 goals for the Gunners and became a living legend.
If you don't believe in second chances, maybe you should believe in third ones. Because Arjen Robben had to try 3 times before finally finding the club where he'd become a legend. Back at PSV Eindhoven, he formed a deadly partnership with Serbian striker Mateja Kejman. They were nicknamed Batman and Robin, with Robin playing off the comic book sidekick, Robin. In 2004, Batman and Robin both signed for Chelsea. The Dutch winger was only 20 years old. In his 3 seasons in London, Robin made headlines whenever he was on the pitch, thanks to his explosive pace and magical left foot. But staying on the pitch, that was always the real struggle. Maybe the Premier League's high tempo and relentless fixture schedule didn't suit his body. Playing 4 games in 10 days was madness, Robin once said. He had the chance to work with Jose Mourinho at a very young age. I played some amazing games at Chelsea, but the injuries never left me alone. And Jose, well, of course he needed players he could rely on. In the summer of 2007, Chelsea sold him to Real Madrid for 35 million euros. But his time in Spain didn't go smoothly either. The club was in turmoil, and Robin wasn't happy with his limited game time. Under Juan de Ramos, he played more frequently, but then came a collapse. Real Madrid lost the final 5 games of the league, and everything was about to change. When Florentino Perez returned as club president, his first mission was to offload the Dutch players to fund superstar signings like Kaká and Cristiano Ronaldo. Robin didn't resist. He wanted to play regularly ahead of the 2010 World Cup. And so, for just 25 million euros, he joined Bayern Munich. Leaving Madrid and joining Bayern was the best decision I ever made, said Robin. He had always dreamed of lifting the Champions League trophy. Yes, maybe he would have won more of them had he stayed in Madrid. But with Bayern, when he finally did win it, his role was monumental. Injuries continued to haunt him, but Bayern had the squad depth to manage his absence, and Robin always came back. In 2013, in the 89th minute of the Champions League final against Borussia Dortmund, he scored the winning goal, breaking into tears of joy. In total, Robin played 309 matches, scored 144 goals, and provided 101 assists for Bayern Munich. And he won 20 trophies in the process.
Another Dutchman who once wore the white of Madrid was Wesley Sneijder.
But unlike Robin, Sneijder didn't move to Spain via the Premier League. He transferred directly from the Dutch league. And also unlike Robin, his departure from Real Madrid wasn't due to injury troubles. It was about lifestyle choices. Years later, in an honest interview, Sneijder openly admitted, when asked, "Did it bother you when people said you went out too much?" He answered, "No, because it was true. I was young. I liked being treated like a star. As a Real Madrid player, I was living a rock and roll lifestyle." He had problems with his ex-wife, who wouldn't let him see his son. Whenever he was alone, He said his mind was full of problems. So instead of dealing with them, he partied. I usually hung out with Guti. The drinking, the women, it all got out of control. The Nistelrooy and Robben warned him, told him he couldn't keep going like that. Honestly, the only reason I stayed at Madrid as long as I did was because of my football IQ. Physically, I was already declining. In his second season, his minutes dropped in direct proportion to his time spent partying. Eventually, Madrid showed him the door, just like they had done with Robben. Sneijder recalls the moment. It was the worst day of my career. I felt humiliated. I went to training, and someone had emptied out my locker and left all my things in a pile. He asked to speak with the club president. "You're not in our plans anymore," he was told. 2 days later, he got a phone call from someone he'd never spoken to before. Jose Mourinho. "Come to Inter. We're going to win everything. You'll be one of the key players. We're going to win the Champions League." Maybe Mourinho said that to everyone. But when he said it, you believed it. Within 6 months of leaving Madrid, the unwanted man Sneijder won the treble with Inter Milan. Just like Jose promised, they won everything. And many people believe he should have won the Ballon d'Or in 2010. Sneijder later admitted, "If I had given 100%, I could have been on the same level as Ronaldo and Messi. I knew that, but I didn't want to. And I have no regrets, not because I failed, but because I chose not to."
A Brazilian talent whose career has been filled with highs and lows. Philippe Coutinho first caught the eye of European scouts back in 2006 when he played alongside Neymar in Brazil's U14 national team. Just 2 years later, in the 2008 Brazilian Cup, he starred for Vasco da Gama as they defeated Neymar's Santos. This time, it was Coutinho who stole the spotlight. Inter Milan was quick to act. They offered 3.8 million euros to secure his transfer and signed an early agreement. But due to FIFA regulations, they had to wait until he turned 18. In 2010, Coutinho finally stepped onto the Serie A stage. Yet, in 2.5 years in Italy, he struggled to break free from his shell. Still, in the rare chances he was given, Coutinho dazzled with the magical skills that would one day earn him the nickname, the Magician. But he admits, "I was a shy person, and I struggled to adapt. When I arrived at Inter, I was still a kid, intimidated by the big names around me. I always worked hard and gave my best, but sometimes things just don't work out." There are examples like Roberto Carlos in the past, and more recently, Gabriel Barbosa. Perhaps we need to admit that Inter, or even Italian football in general, isn't the easiest place for young Brazilian talents to adapt. The culture, the language, the tactical football, it's not always welcoming. In January 2012, Coutinho went on a short loan to Espanyol and finally showed what he was capable of. When he returned to Inter, his minutes remained limited. But he was still young, and Liverpool saw what many had missed. They signed him for 13 million euros and took him to England. That was the moment he desperately needed. A new beginning, in a new country, with no past to haunt him. At Inter, he had been used in almost every position imaginable, but at Liverpool, he finally found his place on the left wing. With consistency came confidence, and with confidence came magic. He was voted Liverpool's Player of the Season twice, named in the PFA Team of the Year, and walking the path of a legend, he became a fan favorite, one of their own. Maybe we should have listened to Jurgen Klopp, who once said, "Go to Real Madrid or Barcelona, and you'll be just another player. Stay here, and you'll become a legend." But regardless of how it ended, Coutinho made the most of the second chance Liverpool gave him. In 2018, Barcelona paid a jaw-dropping 135 million euros for him, and just like that, he became one of the most expensive footballers in history.
Cole Palmer, a boy who entered Manchester City's academy at age 7 and left it at 18. Between 2020, when he began training with the senior team, and the summer of 2023 when he left the club, he spent years trying to break into City's star-studded squad. He made 41 official appearances, but played only about 1,500 minutes. Yes, he was part of one of the best teams in the world, but he wasn't happy, because the minutes he played rarely mattered. He was brought on late in matches that were already decided, or handed a start in cup games that meant little to the manager. So when he was sold to Chelsea for £40 million on the final day of the 2023 summer transfer window, it left many people scratching their heads. What did Chelsea see in a player who could barely get minutes at City? Given the club's recent transfer history, this looked like just another impulsive move. But Palmer was different. Among dozens of signings, he was perhaps the only one that truly hit the mark. Pep Guardiola himself explained it best. He wanted to play, and I didn't give him enough minutes. That's my fault. We all knew how talented he was. Why didn't he play? Because I had Bernardo, Riyad, and Phil. I had to make a decision. In truth, Palmer had already been asking to leave for 2 years. Pep had managed to keep him only that long. Since then, Palmer has played 60 Premier League games for Chelsea, scoring 36 goals and providing 17 assists. And he did it all in a team that, at times, looked like a circus. Last year it finished in 6th place. This year, it finished in 4th place. Just 2 years ago, he was warming the bench. Today, he's worth nearly €130 million, one of the brightest stars in the Premier League. That's what happens when you cling tightly to your second chance. From being overlooked, to climbing the very top of the football world.
Then there's Mohamed Salah, a man who reached his destination through perhaps the hardest road imaginable. Back in 2011, Salah was still playing in Egypt when a tragic stadium riot killed 74 people and brought the league to an indefinite halt. At that time, any Egyptian footballer hoping to play in Europe first had to pass through one of the two giants, Zamalek or Al Ahly. But Salah had just one dream: to play football. And now, even that wasn't possible in his own country. He used the 2011 U20 World Cup as his way out, and not long after the tournament, he signed with Swiss club Basel, climbing the first step carefully. His Chelsea chapter may not have been filled with happy memories, but the club still holds a special place in his story, because the world first noticed Salah when he shined against Chelsea in the Champions League. An incredible athlete, lightning fast, technically gifted, and blessed with deadly instincts. Jose Mourinho knew that rare combination when he saw it, and in January 2014, Chelsea signed Salah. In training, he dazzled. Everyone called him the Egyptian Messi, but off the pitch, he was quiet, shy, withdrawn. Mourinho described him as a kid lost in London. He barely spoke, and physically, he wasn't at the level the Premier League demanded. Chelsea gave him just 19 matches before sending him on loan, first to Fiorentina, then to Roma. Even after 2 solid years in Italy, he still wasn't good enough for Chelsea. In 2016, he was sold permanently to Roma for €15 million. That year, Roma finished second in Serie A, and Salah had 15 goals and 11 assists. A dream season. Then came his second chance. In the summer of 2017, Liverpool signed him for €42 million, a fee many thought was absurd for a Premier League flop. But this wasn't the same Salah who had left England 2.5 years earlier. This version had grown. He had fused his raw talent with unstoppable confidence. His body was now stronger, and he finally knew how to use it. Salah returned to the Premier League, not as a gamble, but as a goal king, netting 32 goals in his debut season. In 2019, he won the Champions League. In 2020, he led Liverpool to their first Premier League title in 30 years. He was named African Player of the Year twice, became the 3rd highest scorer and 2nd best assister in Liverpool's entire history. A legend. Not just for the club, but for the entire league. And even now, at 32 years old, Salah shows no signs of slowing down. This season, he's one of the most informed players on the planet. So, can Salah win the Ballon d'Or? If you believe in second chances, subscribe to our channel so we can meet again in the next story. And if you don't, still subscribe, so maybe one day we can convince you. If you want this series to continue, let us know in the comments. Take care of yourselves.